Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live, and there's also a PayPal link in the info box below the video. Most importantly though, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show. Sharing obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by The Plain Truth, Sleeping Warrior, Jose and Arwin. Good to have you all.
Yo, yo, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good night, depending on where you are. We were talking about that last night, actually, weren't we,
Good
Anthony?
day.
Good time this is. We've got the Aussies just going to sleep, and I'm sure, like most people, there's plenty of Aussies that stay up past 11 PM. And we've got the Americans just getting out of bed, which means that the typical American trolls. I'm not saying that all trolls are going to be layabouts, but let's be honest. So we don't tend to get as many American trolls.
Shout out to P-Bars.
We got the American early risers. That's what
Well,
we got.
P-Mars being one of them, yes. He is the exception to the rule.
And then there's me that I work overnight shift, and the show starts like an hour after I get off work. So I'll be awake all night long.
Wow. After a full day's work, eh?
All this work, this is my dinner is a little bit of Flat Earth Debate. Well, I eat something and then go to sleep.
That's just what I would like to unwind. But full-on debate with me shouting at people, calling them idiots and retards. Just what you need to settle.
And one day I actually fell asleep in the middle of the show, and then I woke up. I was gonna say something, and you go, "With that, I'm gonna say thank you." I go like, "Damn it!" I just slept all the whole show.
You'll have me being accused of being roofy. I like that. Took me a while to actually get what the reference was. Not being somebody who's prone to drug people. But you know what I mean? Once I understood what the reference meant, because he was always saying that people were asleep around him, Roofif that is. And Issa says, well, we'll nickname you Roofy. And I was like, well, that makes sense, you know, Roofif, Roofy. And then you find out that Roofy's actually the slang term in the States for Rohypnol, which is like the date rape drug. So he's saying that he's basically sending everyone to sleep. Just a nice play on words by Issa Mahalski. Thought it was quite clever. Roofy.
Did you? Has anybody seen that? The nine flat earthers against one. I think it was a nuclear physicist or something like that on Karen B's channel.
Keep meaning to watch it.
Yeah,
I haven't. I know we discussed it earlier.
You're not meant to tell people that we discussed it earlier. It's meant to be an organic conversation, Nathan.
My bad. What's this
You're
talk
breaking
of a
protocol.
physicist against 9 flat earthers?
Basically, it was quite a good setup. It was a living room setup where someone's house, they've got this guy, and there's like 4 or 5 people on the panel, in addition to the 4 or 5 people in the room. And so it was kind of like 10 of them overall, and there was a back and forth. And he was a really, really nice guy, but he's thick because he was saying things that are just so badly wrong that really, if me and Nathan, or like even like people that come on this panel regularly, would have heard him say, we wouldn't have just allowed him to say that without rebuttal. It would have been challenged. And one of the good things was to do with the Metabunk curve calculator. He brought that up because the question was, what made you question the shape of the Earth? And Karen B said, well, we see too far. And she's right, of course, we do see too far. Now, he then brought up Metabunk. And when he brought Metabunk up, there are 3 main arguments that destroy it all in one. There's like you want one of three arguments destroy it, but there's three good ones that destroy it 3 times over. It's like Soundly with Pontchartrain, right? You can kill Soundly easily with numerous different points, but Metabunk's the same. You can kill Metabunk with 3 key concise points. And when this guy brought up Metabunk and he said about the first thing he saw was a click here link for the discussion, which he gave a lot of credit to, and I'm like, what on earth are you talking about? He starts talking about Metabunk in the it's a really useful tool thing, and I'm like, no, there's no use to Metabunk whatsoever, and no one challenged him on it, and he was allowed to talk about it as though it was some credible tool. And I thought, bloody hell, if me or Nathan would have been in there at that moment, that wouldn't have gone that way. That would have gone a totally different way. So what it dawned on me was that people that are in Flat Earth, the Flat Earthers, see this show going on daily, see us ripping that Metabunk curve calculator apart, but for some reason don't have the skill or the confidence or the knowledge or the what's the word, the ability, the comprehension to be able to rip it apart themselves. And I see that as a
basically what we're talking about.
I see that basically as a failure on our part, because although we know how to do it, we should be able to pass this knowledge and this point-by-point destruction of the Metabunk curve calculator. We should be able to pass that on to anybody so that everybody knows what's wrong with it, how to argue it, and how to destroy it. And for some reason, they didn't do it. And I feel as though we need to give people a tutorial in the reasons how, why, and how to deal with the curve calculator when it gets brought up. Because if all of us know the basic rules for why it's naff and then apply it when it's due, then the curve calculator is nonsense. So it's kind of like, it dawned on me that we're not making the waves that we need to make to be able to destroy the curve.
Hold on, you're looking at this from the wrong angle, because these people rely on this mechanism because they don't understand it. Otherwise, if they would have understood it, they would just be curious, look into how it's working, and then quickly realize, because they are just intelligent, that there's a misconstruency, that's a misdirecting, that it's perspective omitting.
Yeah.
They would figure it out by themselves. So, yeah, it's always the people that are not skilled enough to actually see the patterns, to really recognize how things work, that will just as a baseline fall back on these mechanisms because they believe in them. They don't understand them, though. And that's just how that works.
Part of the other thing, too, is if you weren't aware of the previous discussion that Poncho Pete had in the pre-show, was that they did not want to put Spiros off. They wanted to make him feel welcome. They wanted to make him feel like they were listening to him. And I think to a certain extent, they probably didn't assert themselves that way. And it's not that they didn't understand the model. It's just that they were wanting him to feel at ease.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean give way on all the points just because we like him.
I agree with you. I'm just telling you what I knew about from the pre-show.
Well, I think there's a way that I think there's a way to be polite and disagree with people. Because regardless of whether he's the king or regardless of whether he's Spiros or whatever, if he's going to say things as a scientist that are wrong, why the hell would anybody allow him to do that in the name of politeness if he's wrong, right?
Yeah, and they did call him on certain things during the show. So, I mean, I agree with you. There was inconsistency there. But for whatever it's worth, that's what I wanted to add.
Well, maybe instead of viewing it as more of an attack on the conversation, maybe my point is that if we give people the bullets to fire, then they can fire the bullets, right? Whether they do or not is a different point, but it dawned on me that we're obviously not doing our job well enough if these points are able to be brought up by physicists and not get challenged. Because I think that's like one of the biggest absurdities of this whole argument, that curve calculator is still relied on by anybody to prove anything. And it's like, well, what's going on? Everybody knows that you can debunk Soundly pretty easily, but Metabunk seems to be still there. It's like, So perhaps I think we should consider doing like a tutorial where we just outline the 3 main arguments against the Metabunk curve calculator, show why they're wrong, and then give people the ability to pull them things apart when it gets presented, because basically nobody should be bringing up the curve calculator and relying on it in any way from their side because it's fallacious and it's wrong in the first instance. It's totally out of it's just wrong science. But if they're going to use it, then we need to point that out. We shouldn't be allowing ball earthers to use the curve calculator without pointing out the problems with it, because it's not good science. It's bad science.
Indeed, we'll have to do a curve calculator special or something.
Who is this guy that I heard mention? Walter Bisling or something like that? Who is this guy?
I don't know.
I hear his name all the time coming out of Soundless mouth when he does.
He's the guy that did the curve.
Walter Bisling.
He's supposed to have done a curve calculator that allows for basically he's got a sliding scale of refraction that basically allows you to bend light like so far beyond normal like straightness that you can basically bring back anything, and it's lies. Light doesn't bend the way that they tell us. No, light does not bend the way they need it to bend to explain what we see. Light travels in straight lines. What does change is the medium that the light travels through. So the medium itself can distort what we see, but light travels in straight lines. But Walter Bisling's curve calculator that he's done is basically, it defies all known science for the bending of light. So it's fallacious. I mean, it's nonsense. But the same rules apply to it.
Right on.
That was a long pause.
It's a begging the question. All it is. It's a begging the question fallacy.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether Walter Bisling's calculator addresses perspective or not. And if it does, then every time that you reduce that target in size as a function of distance, anything over 20 miles, unless it's like huge, is going to fall into that hidden value because of perspective. So unless it does that, then it's not going to be credible. And if it does do that, it'll be wrong, because we know that everything that 20 miles away is a dot on the horizon. But the curve is prominent. The curve is defined and fixed. So I can't even look at the guy's thing, because I know it'll be full of verbal diarrhea in the form of pictures and sliders, and I just don't even want to look at it. I haven't seen anybody present anything credible about it, and I just makes me feel sick that even people think that curve calculators are credible in any way at all. It's nonsense.
I'm dropping frames for some reason.
Oh no.
Okay, there's going to be a
What?
going to be an intermission for the live audience, I'm afraid, while I change my VPN. So it'll cut off and come back, hopefully without any issue.
No, I have a silly theory. Well, it's not silly actually, and it's not really a scientific theory. Just to clear that up. But I think Make 4, I remember that he like dabbles in the occult and even did hangouts about this kind of stuff. I remember this. Could be wrong. Could be that I misplaced it with somebody else. But from my experience with the other side, I know that, yeah, they freaking hate Flat Earth. So I was thinking, since he's always fucking around with that stuff, maybe he had like contracted a spirit, let's just say it like that, that basically gave him nightmares about Flat Earth. So he was bullied by dreams to get back. Could be, you know.
Yes, I'm still dropping frames. I don't know what's going on. Let me just try one more thing.
What does that even mean, dropping
Just-
frames?
Right, that should be reconnected. Hopefully we won't have any further issues. You can resume chatting now, it's back online. Ah. Wonderful. Lots of issues. My apologies to the audience. Come on. Gonna be one of those days. There we go. Happy days.
Know what's gonna happen, right? They're gonna rump us all over you.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. The last time I was on, I was talking about the doctrine of hell, and it was a pretty good conversation. But this is flat Earth, so we'll see if they rump us or not.
So is the subject Flat Earth or where you're gonna be making your cameo?
Yeah. It's the we're discussing flat Earth.
Okay, so
I don't remember
it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I don't remember what his name is, but he's a PhD.
Going up against
he's
a
a
Quaker?
Professor. So we'll see. Gonna try to just stick to the facts and not let him get off on his
It's Bill Miller.
theoreticals. Anthony, I watched
think
your.
we're live again. We're live. Yep, we're live.
Go on, Travis. You watched.
I watched your video came up in my feed on your Molten Iron Core talk with Alex. I thought that was excellent.
Yeah, that was one of the key points. That was the hangout where the Whisperer come from.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
In that hangout, that's where you can hear soundly saying, "Yeah," and go back to that definition he cites too. It was that hangout.
Ah, interesting. Yeah, I was wondering if that was Geo Streber or not, because you kept calling him Alex, and so.
Yes, Alex is Geo Streber.
Okay. It's windy.
Windy here as well today.
Oh, I was watching yesterday. There was a hangout in the non sequitur with Jeranism, Soundly. I was listening. I don't know if it was a replay. It was Soundly and Steve McRae with Jeranism, and then they invited George Natinuk, and then they invited Red, and it was like a 3 hours hangout. It was really good.
Can't stand any of them fuckers.
Language.
Yeah.
No need.
Are we live?
Yeah, we've been
Yeah,
live
we are.
for a while.
Oh, I didn't realise we were live. I thought you'd turn it off and start it again.
No, not at all.
I just told.
I managed to get it back online, but the Hangout also then dropped. I just had numerous technical issues. I mean, not that it phased me particularly at show 536, you know, it's par for the course, but lots of things all went wrong at once. But I managed to keep the live stream going. So this is on the same feed. I didn't realise. So all of your chit chat and moaning about Soundly, that's all on the live feed.
It's all good.
I don't like any of them. They're all fuckers. I don't change my view online or offline.
Live, can you stop swearing?
No need.
Well, I'm just stating that I'm no different offline than I am online. My view is the same.
Just stop fucking swearing.
Oh, that's right. I'm gonna kick you now, Nathan.
Yeah. So where were we before the technical issues? Oh, I know what I was going to say. I've invited Karen B to join at some point. She's just woke up. She's having a coffee. Hopefully she'll join shortly, and she can tell us about the hangout that she'd had, because it was really quite interesting from some aspects. But my intention is so that we can like give her the bullets that she can basically use in future for anybody that brings up these curve calcs, whether it's Bislan's or whether it's anybody else's. They're all bullshit, and it's a case of these points need to be drilled into flat earthers so that we're able to stand on our own 2 feet with these points, because they use them all the time. I know we haven't seen the curve calculator for months, ever since Mick West admitted that the assumption is that the radius is based on an assumption, but it's all based on assumptions. So I just realized that we need to like retell people the problem with the curve calculator, so that if and when they're presented with it, then they know what to say to be able to destroy it. Anyway, we haven't done housekeeping, Nathan.
We can save it for the next one.
Yay!
We're a good chunk into this one now.
Yeah, but we have an issue though if we don't do the housekeeping.
Why is that?
Because I've got some evidence for one of the points.
Oh, really? Well, I don't know. I don't want housekeeping buried 20 minutes into the show. Needs to be at the start.
Well, how do we get my segue into it then without having housekeeping?
Raise your hand if you vote for Doxinian gravity. How do we call the Doxian gravity? How do we call the Doxian gravity
Doxian.
now?
Just Doxian gravity, come on.
Doxian, nice.
Oh, Owen's got an issue with that.
Well, I don't really understand his baseline of gravity. I wasn't there yesterday, you know, so...
So is it less complicated or more complicated than Arwinian gravity?
I don't know if he actually agrees or understands how I model it out, all my cases, but at least sensible enough to figure out that there is something there.
You believe?
No, we deduce.
Well, deductions are not proof, right?
I know. I don't give a shit.
Well, did you watch the show yesterday?
Partially.
It was really interesting.
I don't think I saw the first one.
It was really nice, actually. We had a proper disagreement and nobody started shouting, and I only swore at once.
Good for you.
So what?
Good for you.
Yeah.
I was busy all day.
He gave a very interesting definition for what he considers gravity. Did you hear that bit?
Was it in the first hangout yesterday?
I'm not sure where it was, but his definition was basically what goes up must come down.
Right, I know. He likes to stick to the basics. Oh, it's fine. It is technically true.
You gotta watch the two shows back to back. Yeah, I watched yesterday the two shows back to back without interruption. As I was working last night, that's what I was listening, and I was so entertained, so in the zone, and there was a lot of burden of proof reversal fallacies going on here, and a lot of questioning, like, what is a force? No, you tell me, and you tell me. It was really good, you know. I enjoyed it.
Hey, Spares, how you doing?
Yeah, it's only me. Press the wrong button then. Oh, yeah.
Say again, Spares?
You can hear me, yeah?
Yeah, we hear you. Good.
Yeah. Jose, yeah, so I don't know if I'm trying to get, because Mr. Thrive and Survive wants to connect with Soundy also, Jose. So if the three of you could get together, because Richie's talking about really good ideas of how to prove it, whether it's curving or not, going to the other side, so like lasers and whatnot. Did you manage to get hold of Soundy, Jose?
I mean, I in chat when he does his live hangouts, I type to him in chat. Hello.
Hey,
music.
Hey, music.
Music freak. You're muted.
Okay. Yeah, we good. So yeah, I mean I spoke with Soundly like in chat or whatever, and he's up to meeting me. but that's gonna be by mid-December. I don't know when he wants to, if he wants to do something with Thrive and Survive, but I don't know if it is gonna be the same by mid-December. I gotta take a weekend off work and just do it.
I'm going to make a call on that one. I'm going to make a call that soundly turns everybody down. He'll say that he'll do it, but when it actually comes to doing it, there'll be some reason why he doesn't do it, and it'll be some, reasonably plausible, logical explanation for why he can't, but he'll not end up actually doing it, and you'll not be able to see exactly where he was. He won't be able to repeat his work, yada, yada, yada. And basically, he'll weasel his way out of it in some way. All the ballers will accept that it wasn't his fault, and he had to do something else instead. And everybody else will get left down, but that's what will really happen because he's a weasel. Soundly will not do what he says he will.
It's a possibility. Yeah, there's a 50-50 chance. But if he doesn't come whenever I go back, I mean, I will study better the videos he made as for the exact steps he took to make the observations. Exact spot. I'm gonna be really good on reenacting the observations as for where he stood on.
Well, in kind of Sally's defense, he has said, he's asked Jaren, he's asked any flat earther, he said it time and time again, I've invited any flat earther to come down with me, we can, do the test. Yeah. No, I know, I'm just saying, I don't know if he's just saying the face.
Invited him to do the repeat of it. Andrew John has invited him to do the repeat of it. Jose has done it. And the other guy is called... I can't remember Andrew. There's been at least 4 people that have invited Soundly to repeat the experiment that he does or the observation that he does, and for whatever reason he hasn't done it. The 4th person is a guy called Andrew Witherite. So 4 people, and he said no.
Yeah,
so
but have they?
That's not true. He's claiming stuff that's not true.
No, but did Soundly agree with them? Or did they just request it?
No, they said to Soundly, I'd like to come and do the repeat observation, and he refused.
Oh, okay. I don't know about that. But I have heard him say, he has said, because I'm always, telling him that this, what we see is just distortion. It's just some sort of refraction. That's not the true.
Hey, Karen, hold on.
Yeah.
Is that the real one?
Yeah. The curve, hi, Karen. There's a curve like that.
Hey, Karen.
Hold on.
How you doing?
Hello.
Hiya.
Hey. Cool.
Hold on. I'm having problems. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah. Because he's sick of people calling him a fraudly. I mean, I'm always saying. I mean, originally I was saying, Sally, this is a hoax. This is you're manipulating something with the camera. This is not an Earth curve. And he's like, oh well, look, just come down. Just get flat earthers to come down, and they can verify it. So I think
go back to him and say, right, so why did you refuse Rusted Soul, Andrew John, Andrew Witherite, and now Jose Gonzalez? That's 4 people that tried to do it, and he said no.
Yeah, I'll ask, but the last thing I've heard him say is because, Debbie as well. She absolutely thinks he's manipulated something with the camera. I just think he's taking advantage of the area, the atmosphere, because they've been looking for curvature or something like that for years now. We've been saying, where's the curve? Where's the curve?
I think he's got that 6-7mm screw-on fisheye lens that you can buy for the adapter for the end of the P900. I think that's what he's done, but who cares? I don't think that... Well, put it this way. There's 4 people that have asked him to repeat it, and he said no, right? So whatever he's telling you that he's tired of being called fraudly, tough shit. You either are innocent and whatever, and you'll repeat it, or you're not. And if 4 people ask you to do it and you say no, I'm sorry, but what does that tell us?
No, but I'm sure you must have heard him say, oh, it's slander. Like, if you're saying that I'm doing something manipulative, he's trying to say, well, I can prove...
Oh, my heart bleeds. My heart bleeds. If you're going to repeat the observation and claim that you're not fraudly, then repeat the observation with flat earthers. Don't claim that you've tried to do it and they've not done it. You're the one that's putting the obstacles in the way. Stop playing the dishonest card when you're the one doing it.
And we've got make 4, guys.
No, can't be asked to make 4.
Did you get
anyway? Karen, I don't know. I don't want to hug the mic. I just wanted to let Jose know that Richie wants to do this test with Soundly. So we have 2 flat earthers ready to go. The extra mile. Soundly.
Yeah, I've been listening and following the Soundly and Richie back and forth. So hopefully Richie goes with not with a bias, and if he want to bring cameras tricked with some kind of special lenses to see if he can replicate it, but also bring just the regular P900 and regular cameras, different ones, and take the observations at ease. Don't tweak the setups. Just take the observations to see what you're gonna get. That's the honest approach you gotta do. And present it. That's the thing. Don't hide anything. Present everything.
Let me just address Make 4. I kicked you, Make 4, because right now you're being a dick. You're not being credible opposition. You're wasting our time. You're giggling like a schoolgirl, and I find your behaviour at the minute repulsive. And it's me or you, mate. If you're coming on, I'm dropping, because I find you at the moment repulsive. If you don't like that, piss off.
Boom.
Tell us how you really feel, Nathan. I mean, Anthony.
I'm just being straight.
I'm still drinking coffee.
You're a little bit quiet. What's going on?
I've just turned her up.
She's practicing ASMR.
Well, it's all good.
I don't know. I didn't change any settings on my end. I don't know why I'm quiet. I should be fine.
No, you normally boom. You're normally really loud and crisp and clear, like a winter's wind. But you sound like you're talking through a sock.
Maybe this is your webcam mic or something.
Yeah, have you got
It's
the
early in the
microphone
morning.
selected?
She's drinking coffee.
Anyway, we can hear you, Karen. I've turned you up a bit. It's all good now.
No, it still says I'm going through my Yeti on my end. I don't know.
Sounds great. It's all good. So,
Shout
can
out
we
to
talk
Chief
about
Bloke.
can we talk about the begging the question, perspective omitting? Hi Zinda, how you doing? Hello.
Hi, I'm fine. Thank you.
Good to have you. Can we talk about the
Thank you.
begging the question, perspective hijacking, proof
Hi,
of nothing
Zinda.
curve calculator, please? If that's good by you.
Yeah. So let me introduce
Hold on,
it, Karen.
I was asking Karen.
I watched the discussion
I was
with
asking
the
Karen.
physicist.
Hold on. Karen,
Yes.
if it's good by you,
What's going on?
well, it's kind of presumptuous of us. I know Anthony's talked. Oh, I shouldn't mention that. No conversations ever happen that are not live. But we'd just like to talk to you about the calculator because we've had probably best part of a year going through it and falling prey to it and fighting inside the logical fallacy that it is. But I'm hoping Anthony will take the second 2 points if I take the first. But can we just take you through what basically is 3 main points that if anybody ever uses the calculator, you can just smash them into the middle of next week with?
Okay. I'm assuming one of the points is that it doesn't take into account angular size, right?
Well,
Is that one of them or no?
Well, that'll be Anthony's, but that for me is far less important than the main problem with the calculator, which is that it assumes the outcome. So if you're trying to prove the Earth is a sphere and you go to that calculator, it already knows that the Earth is a sphere. It's got a radius value. So they're very particular about making sure you've got the right height plugged in and the right distance plugged in. But the radius value, well, that's already sorted. So it already knows the outcome. So it proves nothing because it assumes the outcome. As soon as you use the calculator, you've lost because you're already into begging the question and assuming you're on a sphere no matter what you put into that calculator. So the main problem for me is it assumes R. So in R you trust, that all comes off the back of the calculator. Further to that...
Yes, I remember that.
So further to that is once you're in, if you end up being inside that logical fallacy of begging the question and assuming R, there's a second logical fallacy. So it's a logical fallacy on steroids, which is 7/6R. So again, assuming radius and then assuming 7/6 of that radius. So the refraction they use to adjust for any errors they see within the calculator is also a begging the question fallacy on steroids. So it's 7/6R. So that the begging the question bit for me is the main problem because as soon as you're using it, you've lost. But with that, I'm going to hand over to Anthony because he's got... Anthony likes to work within the confines he likes to make his life difficult, so he's already into using the calculator. He will let the opponent beg the question and use the calculator so that he can pick it apart from within, which I just don't like doing. I just like to smash it into the middle of next week and say it's pointless. You already know it's a sphere. Look, there's a radius value. Why are we using this calculator to do anything? There's your answer. It assumes it.
Yeah, I mean, Nathan's view is right, and I do completely agree. But I also, if I was on the baller side and I got someone that said that, I would just call them a denier. So I tend to let them use it and then pull it apart as they do. So 76R is based on the radius, right? Mick West himself has admitted that the radius is an assumption. So that's the first part. Light doesn't travel in curves. Light travels in straight lines on their model. So there's no evidence that shows that light can bend at the rate of 76R. All the evidence, scientifically speaking, is described as negligible. The effects of refraction in the atmosphere are negligible. And when you look up the meaning of the word negligible, it says so small or unimportant as not to be worth considering.
Yeah, that's what it says in the PDF too of our laser tests.
Yeah, so light doesn't travel in bends of following an arc of 7/6 of the radius of Earth, right? Light travels in straight lines, and according to Fermat's principle on the trajectory of light, it deviates from straight in all directions at minuscule amounts, right? But it's negligible. So it's like, it's not even worth even crediting them with anything. The refraction is there, but it's so small it doesn't account for what we see, but they apply 7/6 of the radius. And that is hugely exaggerating because 7/6 is basically 15%. Now, you can't argue that 15%, or it's actually 16%, you can't argue is close to negligible. Negligible is at least less than 5. I would say 1 or 2, but even 1 or 2 might be too much. But 16 is like 10 times too much. So the 7/6 bit is massively exaggerated, but they say, well, it's only a baseline. Yeah, that's still massively exaggerated. The radius itself is a presupposition. And the other thing, of course, perspective. When you're looking at the hidden value of, say, 300 feet of hidden, right? Whatever target you're looking at, they apply that 300 feet against the height of the target when it's in front of your nose. Well, the only time it's at 300 feet, that target that you're looking at, is when it's touching your nose. The rest of the time, it starts shrinking as a function of distance. So really, when you shrink that target down and then drop it into the refracted hidden value, if it's over 20 miles away, almost all objects will drop into the curve because there's not that many objects that are man-made that are big enough to get beyond the curvature of the Earth and be big enough to see. All right, there is the odd 1 or 2, the CN Tower perhaps, but my point is that most objects will fall into it by that reason, that perspective. So, I mean, you've got 7/6R, you've got the R itself, and you've got perspective. You add them 3 things together and you're looking at a load of nonsense, and it doesn't reflect reality at all. We either see it or we don't see it. And any obstruction on there, the way they will interpret anything that is shown, any obstruction at the bottom of that horizon is going to be the curvature of the Earth, regardless of whether it's wavy and it's shimmering in the heat, or whether it's mirroring, or whether it's fat or thin. Any obstruction is what they will call curve, right? And Anthony, they'll say, where's the rest of the buildings?
I wanted you to keep it concise, and now you can't stop talking. Anthony, thank you. So just to keep the last one concise, because you've given far too much information. So the main point with the perspective thing, and Karen made a summary of it far more concisely than you did, no offence. But yeah, essentially they take the actual sizes. So when Anthony says you've got to have the mountain right up to your nose, to put that in a more concise way, they use the actual feet and inches measurement of anything. So it's like they've run a tape measure down the side of the building to give you the measurements in that calculator. Now, what we actually see is angles. So we have angular sizes of things when we look at them into the distance, not actual sizes. And by doing so, what they're actually doing is putting you in side profile, looking at the observation taking place, as though you are a third party watching the person take the observation with the camera. And the only numbers that are used are actual sizes, not angles. So they completely ignore perspective, i.e. the angular resolution, the angle of attack, the things that will cause things to disappear bottom up. So they hijack perspective, use actual sizes rather than angular sizes, so that they can substitute what is actually perspective for curvature. So, as Anthony summarised it beautifully, though, so yes, absolutely, it's down to the assumption of R, which is the begging the question fallacy, the 7-6R begging the question fallacy on steroids, and the fact that they completely hijack perspective and substitute it for Earth curvature by giving you actual sizes, feet and inches measurements for everything, rather than angular sizes, i.e. perspective. So it's a begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking, curve calculator.
And it has that name because that's the reason it has that name, because it is all them three things. I mean, I could never even remember its name, but anytime they don't bring it up on this channel anymore. They never ever bring the curve calcs up. So it's like, for us, it's kind of, well, we've killed that one now. And it's like, well, no, they don't bring it up here, but they do bring it up everywhere else. And it's like, I get that you were being polite to the guy because you didn't want to frighten him off. But where do you draw the line between stuff citing up bad science or stuff that's not credible? I mean, what would you have done if you?
Well, that was my first time talking to that guy.
Yeah. What would you have done if he'd have brought up Soundly and Pontchartrain? Would you have laughed in his face, or would you have allowed him to assert that he believes it's the curve of the Earth?
No. I would have laughed at him.
Yeah. Well,
I don't care who he is. I don't care how famous he is.
That's what I mean. So if you laugh at Soundly's Pontchartrain stuff, then you've got, for me, that Metabunk curve calculator is the exact same thing. It's laughable. They're on the same level of shitness.
Yeah.
Hello, James.
Hello.
Hi, Jimbo.
So now we've itemized those three things. I'm assuming that you knew of those three things, right? Because you've been in it long enough. Did it not like? Did you consider to bring any of them things up, or did you just like not do it because he's new and you didn't want to frighten him off?
I honestly, I was thinking about. I wanted to go to other things because he's a quantum physicist. So his source of study or his course of study is different than that, and he's off in La La Land. That guy.
Yeah.
Well, it's a claim that he's a quantum physicist. Just a claim.
I was excited about asking him about photons.
Yeah, did you have to empty the photons out of your camera? Where did that one come from? I've not heard that before.
I actually stole that from Theoria Apophasis. That's what he says. He laughs. He says, if you think that you empty photons out of your camera when you're done taking pictures for the day, he's like, you're absolutely retarded.
Fair point, though.
Well, it is. I mean, because the light doesn't go through the camera, does it? So that if there's photons, they have to stop inside the camera.
Yeah, that's true. It's a valid point. What is the light? And I mean, I'm not even convinced that light travels, moves at all. I don't know what light is, but I don't think that it bounces off the object from the sun and then ends up in your eye, and then it burns an image on your eye. I don't think that's really what's happening.
No, I don't think light travels either. It's instantaneous. It's instantaneous action at a distance.
I would rather believe and accept that it's proof of creation because science can't explain it, because nobody can agree whether light's a wave or a particle. And if it's a particle, well, why has it got no mass? If it's got no mass, then it can't be a particle. It's completely paradoxical all the way through.
That's what I asked him. That's when I asked him that. He said, no, that's not how photons work. They don't have any mass.
Nobody thinks light's a wave. It's not a wave. That's just a mathematical description of what it does. Light is not a wave. Light is a particle. It's not a wave. It never will be. That's just a mathematical way of describing it.
Also, it can turn into whatever it is, different things. It can be captured by a photocell and re-become, quote, an electron. It can turn into heat energy, or it can become light that's scattered, subdivided, or whatever, and
a wave is
my
not what something is, it's what something does.
Yeah, my understanding of how light is generated, it's an in situ process by the process of atomic absorption and secondary emission, where atoms, molecules, whatever, absorb energy. It excites, quote, an electron to a higher valence level. When that electron drops back down to its original valence, it gives off light. Light is generated in situ by a process called atomic absorption and secondary emission. No one seems to want to look at it that way. Oh, it's such a mystery. Oh, this and that. We can identify every organic chemical on Earth with atomic absorption and light colors and photospectral whatever. It's ridiculous to say we don't know what light is and all this blah, blah, blah. And no one's gone to look up atomic absorption and secondary emission or have any notion a primary and secondary and what's going on. So yeah, light is a mystery if you keep it that way. And I'm not saying that what's written about it and all this atomic absorption spectrometry is all right. It's just a narrative that functions. It's not the truth.
I
It's
never
not
know
right.
when the end of your statement is.
Yeah,
What
well-
is a photon? If somebody
Well,
can
it can't
answer.
be a particle if it has no mass.
Yes,
'Cause
it
you
is.
I don't think
absolutely
photons
no-
exist.
Everything is
Personally.
particles. Yes, it is a particle.
Yeah,
How
if
can it be
it's
a
able
particle
to
when it has no
push,
mass?
if it's able to push when the guy points these different colored lasers at this little glass bulb with little, like a wind vane in it, but it's little foil sheets, and light can actually go through the glass and push physically that material there. It should have mass and weight, or mass and force.
Is the light
If
a
it's able to
particle
push
and a
something
wave,
phys-
or is it
Well,
is
it-
either
it's
or?
acting as a force. It's able to spin a physical thing inside of a glass bubble. Light from lasers. Different colors have different forces, but some work on some material that's in the tube and some don't. But you can move these metal plates around on a wind vane inside a glass dome with light through the glass.
Is light a
So-
particle or a wave, or is it a wave
It
made
must
out of
have
particles? Or
mass.
what is it?
It must
Particle.
have mass if it's going to go through the glass and push.
A wave is just a mathematical way of describing it. It's not a wave. It's a particle.
It's just a word. It doesn't make what we think it is right or wrong.
And M. Scott Veitch saying it's both a particle and a wave. No, it isn't. It's a particle. Describing it mathematically as a wave can be done, but that does not make it a wave. It's just a mathematical description. Doesn't make it a wave.
A wave is not what something is, it's what something does. A wave can be in water, it can be in light. Your hand can wave, but your hand is still a hand. It's waving.
Okie dokie. Oh, looks like we lost the whole panel. Wonderful. There'll be a short intermission. Now to Michael Buck for the super chat. Now posted the link in Master B. We'll get a few guests back shortly. Hey Travis.
What happened?
I think someone came in as Arwin, and I thought it was just Arwin with a technical issue, so I didn't think to say. But I think an Arwin sock came in and sniped everybody.
Wow.
Been a sketchy show all round.
Did that one get sniped?
Hey Spurs.
Hey. Great stuff. I wonder what happened then.
Snipers. It's all par for the course, Spurs. It's been a while since you've been here.
Yeah. I've been trying to look for that. The evidence that you've been the housekeeping. I'm always asking, the Globers to provide something. So when Nathan does his housekeeping, I could probably, bring that forward. But fortunately, there are no signs of any of those things.
We'll go through them in a bit. We didn't go through them on the first show, although this is still technically the first show. Yeah, it didn't end. We didn't go through it on this show, so we will on the next one. We'll go through housekeeping at the beginning of the next show, and we'll get a few guests back. We've only got about, I don't know.
Does Jose's video count as science or not? Not quite.
As science?
Not really.
Not at all.
No, I know. I'm just, just saying. That's what they would use as a sign. So, how do we get into it? Discussing whether it is or isn't.
Oh, I see. Well, if you're going to start referencing a begging the question, proof of nothing perspective hijacking curve calculator, then you're begging the question and hijacking perspective. So that's not really much use when they use those means. Unless, you want to take what Soundly presents at face value, which is that we live on planet Orleans Parish.
Yeah, of course not. A lot more questions about what he's presented. A lot more questions. He hasn't answered. Flat earthers are going back down there because it looks odd and needs verifying. I just hope, he meets up with Richie and Jose. Because I think this will bring Saudi to the flat earth. Do you think? Hey, Jose. Excellent. You.
I mean, Jose's probably a better person to ask these questions because he's been there, he's done it, he's got the T-shirt. You know what I mean?
Jose, do you think anything can be verified with this experiment? Is it a waste of time? Is it for the Globers just to appease them for a period of time? What will be the outcome? We need like a result. Any experiment that has to be a result or conclusion. Yeah.
For me, my intention on going back to Pontchartrain is to go in a clearer weather, because I know when it's really hot, I'm gonna get all these inferior mirages and mirroring effects and all this kind of stuff. I know when it's clear, when it's cooler, I'm not gonna get much of that. Now, the conclusion is if I get to replicate Soundly's observations by the T, like I see exactly what he get, that's gonna be the implication that I don't know what am I gonna do. I mean, I actually know what I'm gonna do. I will present the video, I will upload it, and I will say, this is what I caught, and it is bending somehow. The bridge is curved if I get the exact observation. That doesn't mean I'm gonna say it's a globe and that's it. I'm going back to the globe. I'm gonna just forget about flat earth, everything I have learned that I never thought I questioned myself on all this stuff. The thing is, I was able to catch the video footage, and please explain. It's legit.
Jose, that's the thing. Who's going to explain this? We need to verify if this land is actually curving. So, there's no point you going down there just to try to replicate what Soundly has done. You need to be able to verify that this land from there to there is curving and it's not optical. How are you going to discern whether it's optical or actual? Yeah.
Exactly, and that's a very interesting question that I'm not going to be able to ask or give any explanations because I really don't know. I look at Soundly's footage and I say, like, how is this possible in a flat earth if this is a legit bendiness of a bridge? I mean, for me, the way I picture it is a very small Earth. If that's, I mean, for real, it's very small because I don't know how to wrap it around my brain. That is the size they tell us. If it's a sphere, the size they tell us, having that effect of bendiness is a little mind blowing. It's some kind of an optical phenomena. How to explain it? I don't know. There's more people more articulated than me, and I know if I get that footage, it's going to be taken more seriously as for analyzing it and explaining it with more details because it hasn't been done by a flat earther. It's been taken kind of swept to the side.
Jose,
because
are you not,
of
are you
thinking
not,
manipulated.
are you not aware that we can replicate the exact same thing that Soundly shows by on a flat road?
I have seen it. I have seen it with the bicycle and you know when you got the little effect of the mirroring thing. I've seen that.
No, I mean, what's his name? Nick from Phuket Word did a video on top of a dam, and if the argument is that water locally is flat, but on a bigger scale it's curved, then the water's flat. Now the road was built on top of the dam, so the road's flat. But what he showed is that when you pick the camera up and then move the camera back down, it got the same that same effect with the horizon, with the barrier. That he had a barrier that was running on the side of the road. And it did the same as what the pylons did.
Yeah, I seen that. Yeah.
But the line that led up to the horizon was straight, didn't curve.
Yeah.
Exactly,
So
yeah.
what I was going to suggest, Jose, if there's any, availability, is it would be interesting to, if you find that geographical location on the land where Soundly stood and took the picture, if you could get someone in a boat and have them move away from you and at each pylon, and you just mark out and observe those things, because I think that would be something that you would have by way of contrast. You wouldn't just have the pylons, you'd also have a boat that's moving along the same line, and that would be something I think it would be interesting. I don't know if it would be valid.
Yeah, no, that would be very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, because it would be something like a Bedford level. This would be Lake Pontchartrain level,
right?
Testing kind of thing. So yeah, this is what I'm saying, Jose. I wouldn't waste your time with the sole purpose of going just to see if you can see what Soundly can see, because you need to verify on your return, or before you return, you need to verify what you're looking at. Are you looking at curvature? Or I know you said that you won't be able to, but hopefully Richie will be there with you with lasers, lights, bells, whistles.
No, Spares. No, I think you've got that the wrong way around. I think that what he needs to do is try and validate by repeating what Soundly did exactly the way Soundly did it. Repeating his work and getting the same results. And what you're looking for is you're looking for the bendy shit at the horizon, which we all know that was probably going to be there right at the very, very tips of it. But it's the curve on the approach to the horizon that people question with Soundly. And if he doesn't get that curve and it's flat, then unfortunately that means that Soundly's doing something different to what he's doing. And there's a problem. Now, if he does get it, all it does is it removes Soundly's element of potential fraud out of the equation to some degree. But it doesn't mean that he needs to know the shape of the Earth to validate the observation that Soundly did. All he's got to do is go and do the same thing that Soundly did and see, does he get the same results? And you're looking for the curve on the approach to the horizon, and you're looking for the bit at the horizon where it bends back on itself that creates an impression of dropping over the curve. But he doesn't, I don't agree. He doesn't need to know the shape of the Earth to be able to validate or repeat and validate Soundly's work.
You already said, Anthony, that we can replicate what Soundly does anywhere. So we know how.
Yeah, but nobody's been able to replicate the curve up towards the horizon.
Nobody have been able to do it exactly yet.
Raising and then falling. Well, Andrew John showed that that's not true. There's other people, like Andrew Witherite. So again, this goes back to when he was challenged to repeat the observation, and he basically, if Soundly's claiming that he's offered flat earthers to do the repeat, I could name 4 people right now. One of them's on the panel that offered to do the repeat observation, and he said no. Rusted Soul, Andrew Witherite, Andrew John, Jose.
One detail here. If I get back and I get exactly, if I stand, because I saw the last time he went maybe a few weeks ago with the P1000, and he had a lot of mirroring effects, but he still was able to get the same footage, pretty much exactly the way he got it before. Why? Because I stood maybe 20 feet to the right, and he stood 20 feet to the left, a little closer to the bridge. So he stood in that specific spot. Now I want to go back and I want to stand exactly where he was, and I should be able to replicate it, hopefully, you know. And then if I get the video, then I'm gonna step 5 foot to the right, and I'm gonna take another video. I'm gonna step 5 more feet to the right. I'm gonna take another video. I'm gonna go lower to the ground. I'm gonna be in the same spot. I'm gonna take exactly footage, but I'm gonna go higher and lower, and I'm gonna go to the right, higher and lower, but pretty far away to see how it looks, because it should be the same curve, the same effect. It doesn't matter if I go 100 foot to the right, it should be the same, you know. That's what I want to see. If I get the exact video from the same spot he stood, I should be able to get the same video way more to the right, you know. You know what I mean?
And you should, like you say, you should be able to get it left a bit, right a bit. And if it's a sweet spot where there's something weird going on and he just happens to have spotted it, then it doesn't remove the fact that he's being sneaky, because he's found a sweet spot and not told us. But in any event, the point is, you should be able to validate and get the same results that he gets, which does include that curviness up to the horizon. I mean, forget about what happens at the horizon. I mean, there's a whole heap of shit going on at the horizon, but leading up to and bending away from and getting that curve effect that he gets, that's what you're expecting to get. And if you don't get that, then something else is going on, and Soundly's doing something different, because he's told you how he's done it. He's done it with a Rebel, and he's done it with a P900. Well, you've got, have you got a P900 now?
No, I don't, but I was looking up and they are for rent for like $55 for a week. So, oh yeah, I'm gonna rent it.
If you need to start a GoFund for infrared, Jose, because infrared is going to be kind of the way forward. I think a lot of flat earthers will be using infrared on their cameras to see through that dirty air, which is what we've found out about. So
yeah, when the date is closer, I'm gonna see what I do if I can find other type of equipment, borrow it, find somebody, rent it, whatever. I don't want to take just the P900 because I'm planning on renting it. And my older camera, this is a smaller, you know, reach. I want to take something else, you know. I want to record it with at least 3 different cameras.
And with that, I'm going to say first and foremost, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you, the live audience, for tuning in and hopefully sharing this debate. If you hated the show, you know exactly what to do. But if you liked it, maybe consider sharing it with a friend or subscribing if you've not done so already. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
What you'll get, what is that? It's like pacing out a different focus while the camera doesn't know what you're looking at, and it's trying to work out what you're looking at. So just find out how to do manual focus, focusing on something that's miles away. Lock it to that point, and then you'll never have any focus issues, because Ranty's work is so much crapper than what it could be, but just by focus lock.
Yeah, I got it. Understand. Yeah, I understand.
So where is Ranty?
He's doing a lot of work at the minute because he's got to save up some. He hasn't got enough money for his deposit for his house that he's buying. So he's got to do a bit more work so we can save up the. I think he's about $6,000 short. So he's having to do the overtime, like in like 6 days, seven days a week to be able to make that money up.